An 11-year-old girl named Yumi lived with her mother and father in a small village in Korea. One day, she was coming home from school. It was a long walk through the countryside, and when she got home, Yumi was very thirsty. She went into the kitchen to get a drink of water and grabbed a glass from the cupboard. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks. In a corner of the kitchen lay the dead body of her mother. Yumi dropped the glass and screamed in horror. At that moment, her father walked out of the next room. "Yumi, please listen carefully and calmly," he said. "Your mother was planning to run off and abandon us. She was having an affair with another man. I tried to talk her out of it. I told her you would be devastated if she left, but she wouldn't listen. We got into a fight. It all happened so quickly. She fell and hit her head. I'm so sorry." He sat down at the kitchen table, put his head in his hands, and started sobbing uncontrollably. It was such a shocking situation. Yumi struggled to take it all in. She wanted to cry, but she forced herself to be strong. She had to remain calm. She had to think. What would happen if her father was sent to prison? She had no other relatives. She was only 11 years old. The authorities would send her to an orphanage. It was clear what she had to do. She had no other choice. Biting her lip, she decided not to turn her father into the police. After all, it was an accident. She realized that they would just have to find a way to deal with the situation. She looked at her father and nodded. "We will have to bury her ourselves," she said quietly. "If the neighbors ask any questions, we can tell them she ran away with another man." Her father hung his head, still weeping. Yumi went upstairs to her bedroom and began to change out of her school uniform. As she was taking off her clothes, she noticed her suitcase was lying on the bed. When she opened it, she found all of her clothes inside, neatly folded. A small piece of paper lay on top. She recognized the handwriting. It was a note from her mother. It read, "Yumi, I packed your things. We have to leave quickly. Your father has gone insane." When I was young, I remember there was an old leather sofa in our house. It was worn and tattered and stood in the corner of the living room. My parents had found it at a garage sale and bought it for next to nothing. One day, when I was about 5 years old, I was playing in the living room by myself. I happened to look up and noticed something very strange. There was a crumpled paper bag sitting on the floor in front of the leather sofa. I wondered what was inside, so I got up and walked over to investigate. The paper bag had a very distinctive logo printed on it. Just as I was about to pick the bag up, I realized that a gnarled and withered hand was reaching out from under the sofa and holding out the paper bag. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, and a chill ran down my spine. I was terrified. As I watched, the hand slowly retracted and disappeared back under the sofa, bag and all. I ran out of the living room and found my mother washing dishes in the kitchen. Shaking with fear, I tried to tell her what I had seen, but she didn't believe me. She laughed and said I must have been imagining things. After that, I tried to stay as far away from the leather sofa as possible. I avoided the living room at all costs. One morning, I woke up to find the leather sofa gone. There was a new couch standing in its place. I breathed a sigh of relief, and as time went on, I forgot all about it. A few years ago, I was talking to my mother about my memories from childhood, and I suddenly remembered the old leather sofa. "Whatever happened to it?" I asked. "Oh, don't talk to me about that horrid thing," cried my mom. "We threw it out." "Why?" I asked. "Just because I was scared of it?" "Well, I never told you this at the time," she said with a shudder. "You were very young and I didn't want to frighten you. One morning you didn't want to go to school, and while I was getting you ready, you ran off and hid from me. I went through the whole house searching for you, and eventually I came to the living room. Just as I was about to open the door, I thought I heard you giggling to yourself. I burst into the room, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of what I thought was your shoe disappearing underneath the leather couch. I got down on my hands and knees and cried, 'Found you!' I almost had a heart attack. It wasn't you. As long as I live, I will never forget that sight." "What was it?" I asked. It was an old woman with a black shawl on her head and gray, wrinkled skin. Her face was twisted into a grotesque grimace, and she was giggling like a child. She was holding a necklace or a bracelet in her hand. I wanted to run, but I was frozen to the spot by fear. She stared directly at me with her cold, dead eyes. No soul at all. I screamed and ran up the stairs. You were standing in the kitchen, so I grabbed you and dashed out of the house as fast as I could. I called your father, and he had to come home from work. I tried to tell him what had happened, but he wouldn't believe me. I refused to go back into the house until he got rid of that horrible old leather sofa. I was speechless. "A few weeks after that, I was picking you up from school," my mother continued. "We drove past the house where I had found the sofa at the garage sale. I stopped the car and decided to find out more about it. The lady who lived there told me that all the furniture had come with the house when she bought it. She explained that the house had previously belonged to an old woman who lived alone. She didn't have any family, so when she died, her body wasn't discovered for weeks. When they finally found her rotting corpse, it was lying on the sofa. The same old leather sofa we bought at the garage sale. Even now, it freaks me out just to think about it. My mother's story brought back all my old memories from childhood, about the leather sofa and the gnarled and withered hand I had seen clutching the paper bag. Just the other day, I was in town doing some grocery shopping. In one store, I was browsing through the aisles when I saw something that looked familiar. On one shelf, there was a small paper bag that had the exact same logo I remembered. My hands were shaking as I picked it up and looked inside. It was a bag of razor blades. A young man decided to go on holiday with his girlfriend. She told him she wanted to go somewhere hot and sunny, so he booked 2 tickets to Thailand. They spent 2 weeks touring the country and had a wonderful time together. They met a lot of friendly local people and visited many exotic tourist attractions. In Bangkok, they saw the Grand Palace and a variety of interesting Buddhist temples. They relaxed on the beautiful sandy beaches of Phuket and swam in the crystal blue ocean. In Chiang Mai, they went shopping in the night bazaar, then danced until dawn at a number of bars and nightclubs. The holiday brought the couple closer together, and they were both impressed by the charms of Thai culture. When they returned home, their digital camera was full of photos they had taken during their trip. A few days later, the young man was looking through the photos and remembering the good times they had shared. All of a sudden, he noticed that in several of the pictures his girlfriend had taken of him, there was a strange woman standing in the background. She had long black hair and wore a flowing white gown. She was standing too far away to make out her face. The man decided to show the pictures to his girlfriend. "Do you remember this woman?" he asked. "No, I don't," she replied. "I thought you were alone when I took this photo." After examining the pictures more closely, they realized that the strange Thai woman was lurking in the background of several photos they had taken in different cities. It was as if she had been following them as they toured the country. The young man went through the rest of the photos they had taken, and when he came to the last one, a chill ran down his spine. It was a picture of him standing in the middle of a busy street in Chiang Mai. The strange Thai woman was standing directly behind him, peering over his left shoulder. This time, her face was clearly visible. Her skin was deathly pale and she didn't have any eyes. He found all of this extremely unsettling and wanted to know who the weird Thai lady was and why she had been following them. He decided to visit a psychic to get to the bottom of it. His girlfriend made an appointment with the psychic for him, and he printed out the photograph in which the woman's face was visible. The next day, when he visited the psychic's office, he sat down on a sofa opposite her and took the photograph out of his pocket. Pointing to the pale lady in the picture, he asked, "Can you tell me anything about this woman?" The psychic took the photograph and examined it closely. "Yes, I can," she replied. "She is standing behind you right now." There was a father and mother who lived with their teenage daughter in an old house in a large city in Japan. The house was from the Showa era and was a cultural property protected by the government. The house was probably built in the 1920s or 1930s. When the family moved into the house, there was a white phone in the hallway. One day, the phone started to ring. When the father answered it, there was no sound on the other end, just silence. The phone began ringing constantly at all times of the day and night. Whenever they answered it, there was nobody on the other end of the line, just an eerie silence. As time passed, the annoying phone calls continued, and the family was very disturbed. Dozens of times, they were awoken in the middle of the night by the phone ringing, and every time they answered it, they were greeted by the same uneasy silence. One night, when the phone rang, the father picked up the receiver and left it on the floor. He was about to go back to bed, but then he heard something. It was the faint sound of whispering, and it was coming from the phone. The father picked up the handset again and put it to his ear, but the whispering immediately stopped. All he could hear was silence. This went on for a few days. Whenever anyone answered the phone, there would only be silence. But if they put the handset on the ground, they could hear a voice whispering. If they picked up the handset, the whispering would stop. The family was at their wits' end. They tried everything they could think of. They changed their phone number, but the calls kept coming. They made a complaint to the telephone company, but there was nothing that could be done. They even contacted the police, but it was all to no avail. No matter what they tried, the white phone kept ringing day and night. Gradually, the father began to suspect that something supernatural was going on. He paid a shaman to come and bless the house, but it did no good. He asked a priest to come and perform an exorcism on the house, but the phone calls continued. It was driving the family out of their minds. Eventually, they decided to sell the house. Even though the housing market was down and they would receive less than they had paid for it in the first place, they just wanted to get rid of it and move out. However, on the day they decided to sell the house, the white phone stopped ringing. There were no more phone calls. The parents couldn't decide what to do. Although the phone calls had stopped, they had no guarantee that they wouldn't start up again at some later date. After thinking it over for a few days, they came to the conclusion that they should go ahead with the sale of the house. One cold and dark December night, a teenage girl named Kathy was babysitting 2 children. There was a 7-year-old boy named Taylor and a 6-year-old girl named Selena. The parents had gone to the movies for the night, leaving Kathy in charge. Just after 9 o'clock that night, the phone rang. Kathy answered it and heard an anguished voice screaming, "Help me! For heaven's sake, help me!" Confused, Kathy hung up the phone and decided that it must have just been a prank call. 30 minutes later, the phone rang again, and the same voice screamed, "Help me! Somebody, please help me!" This time, Kathy was beginning to get frightened. The children asked her who was calling, and she told them not to worry, that everything was just fine. Another 30 minutes passed by, and she received another call. The voice on the other end sounded scared and desperate. "Help me! For heaven's sake, won't somebody help me?" The phone went dead. Seconds later, there was a knock at the door. The babysitter clutched the children tightly to her. She was almost as scared as they were. The urgent knocking continued. She knew it wasn't the children's parents because they weren't due home for at least an hour. They could hear a voice coming from outside. It was a man's voice, and he was repeating over and over, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" She didn't know what to do. "I'll have to let him in," she said. "He needs help." Later that night, when the parents arrived home, the house was eerily silent. All of the lights were off. When they searched the house, they entered the living room and stumbled upon a horrible scene. Kathy and both of the children had been murdered. Their arms and legs had been chopped off. On the wall, written in blood, were the words, "For heaven's sake, help me before I kill again. I cannot control myself anymore." Abigail is a spooky true ghost story about a little girl who lost her life in the 1800s. They say her ghost haunts the Spooner House in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Many years ago, there was an 8-year-old girl named Abigail Townsend who lived in the Spooner House in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Her father was a fisherman and was away at sea most of the time. Abigail never had a good relationship with her mother, but whenever her father left, things got much worse. Her mother became very abusive, and Abigail always feared her father leaving because of what her mother might do. One day, Abigail's father failed to return from one of his fishing trips. Abigail's mother blamed the poor girl for her father's disappearance and took her anger out on the child. One night, poor Abigail died under mysterious circumstances. Her mother claimed it was a bad tooth that killed her daughter, saying Abigail's toothache turned into an abscess, and the infection spread, killing her. Many people refused to believe her story and suspected Abigail's mother had murdered her in a fit of rage. Ever since that time, the ghost of Abigail has haunted one of the upstairs bedrooms in the Spooner House. People claim to have seen her ghostly figure peeking out of the top window and playing with the shutters. The Spooner House is now a museum. In 2005, workers hired to do renovations knocked on the door, which was opened by a little girl in an old-fashioned white dress. When the manager arrived later, he was shocked to see the workmen already inside and asked who had let them in. They replied, "The little girl did." Confused, the manager asked, "What little girl?" They searched the entire house, but no girl was found. Spooked, the workmen gathered their tools and quit on the spot. A woman who once lived next door claimed she woke one night to find Abigail standing at the foot of her bed. According to legend, if you stand in the street in front of Abigail's house and say, "Abigail, come play," you will see the ghostly figure of the little girl standing in the upstairs window. Do you believe in coincidences? Once something strange happened in this small Russian town. Some people thought it was just a coincidence, but others were certain that there was something more terrifying involved. There was a girl who lived with her parents at a pig farm. Let's just call her Alina. Alina's house was next to an old man who never spoke to anyone. But whenever Alina would be outside in the fields, she noticed this man staring at her. This made her feel really creeped out. But one night, things escalated into something terrifying. It was very late when Alina heard strange scratching noises on her bedroom window. She got up and turned on the light and screamed in terror. There was a huge pig banging at her window. Then from the top, it tried to pull itself up and into Alina's room. Alina jumped out of bed and her parents rushed in. The pig attacked Alina and tried to bite her, but Alina's father ended up striking it in the back with an axe to defend his family. Finally, the pig jumped out the window and escaped into the night. But the next morning, the unimaginable happened. Something no one can explain. The strange neighbor was found in the woods with an axe in his back, and Alina and her family never told anyone about what happened the night before, except when the unimaginable was there.